Okay. If you've been to the welcome session, you know I just had to run from our main stage to my what's it called? A table, my desk, to set up everything for the session. But everything's ready to go. I'm excited to get started. I see that people are still trickling in, but we don't have time. So yes, welcome to the Spotlight session on QTT, on question, themes, and theories. This feature is a new feature that was just introduced in November with MAXQDA 2022. So it hasn't been around a lot. I haven't seen it in practice that much. We're still waiting for the first papers where people mention it, or the first research session where people will present how they use this feature. So none of that yet. It's a new feature. And I'm actually teaching it for the first time today. So it was really exciting to get into the depth of this feature. Let me tell you a little bit about what this feature does. It answers a question that many researchers have been having for a long time. So you have all of your research in MAXDA, you've imported it, you've coded it, you've written memos, you visualize some of the data, maybe you have variables, you did mixed methods. You have all of these amazing and interesting facts, but how do you go from your MAXDA interface to the report or the thesis or the presentation where you need to combine all of this knowledge and all of these ideas and then present them in a coherent way? And of course, MAXDA has a ton of export options, and you can take screenshots and you can make lists and all of that. I'm actually teaching a session about all of these export features later today. But it can be a little bit cumbersome. So you create a visualization, like you have a document portrait, and it just perfectly summarizes what you meant to say. But now you have to take a screenshot, paste it into a Word document, write your notes, save the document somewhere where you will always find it, remember that you created it in the first place, and then go back to MAXDA. So even though there are all these export options, it's always been a little bit difficult to say, okay, I'm planning a presentation on a very specific topic, and I have all this info MAXDA, but where do I collect it? Like, how do I do even more than just link them to each other or write notes? And this is where the QTT comes in. And the goal is to give you a space where you can collect analytical results together with your notes and thoughts on these results by topic or by research question, and then have them always kind of like a result worksheet, like the step that you can stay in MAXDA, collect what's important, annotate it, write down your notes, and then at the end, when you're done, then you export it into one Word document that's very easy to manage, and then you have all the information where you need it. So let's see how MAXDA solved this with the QTT workspace. The QTT stands for questions, themes, and theories. It's an icon that you can find in the analysis menu of MAXQDA. And if you open up, the QTT workspace will open up. The QTT workspace has multiple different interfaces. We'll go over them in detail soon. And we'll also go live and interact with them and see how you can create all this. But you can see that's like it's like a workspace where you collect all different types of things. You can see notes, a table, memos, and then you can say that, oh, you can also add notes here at the bottom. Let's take a look at one of those screens in a little bit more detail. What are all of the things that you can see here? So this is just one of the elements that you can, this is a screen that shows you some memos that are collected. But I want to start at the very top. So in the QTT window, at the very top, you have a menu where you find all of the options that you would expect. You can create a new worksheet. You can switch between your worksheets. So that's important to know. You can have as many worksheets as you want to, each one for each topic that's relevant, maybe one for each chapter of your thesis, maybe one for each research question that you want to answer. You can, of course, delete it and you can export it, which we'll look at later today. And below the menu, you'll have a header section that has information about this worksheet. So you can see the name of the worksheet. You can see a subject. This worksheet is on work-life balance and cognitive well-being. And you can see which research questions the person that created this wanted to answer with the elements collected and annotated here. And in the top right corner, you can always see who created and who modified this worksheet. In this case, it's me a few days ago. Then below this header information, there's a section tab. So you have a long tab with all of these different sections. And you can see that you have some for code, some for memos, segments, tables. We'll look at them in detail later, but this is where you can switch between the different sections. So you always just have them on display, the one that you selected. You can also rearrange them. You can remove some if you need to. And you can also export each section by its own. But this is where you switch between the different sections, and you can see which type of elements you can have in a QTT worksheet. Then we have the sections where all of the elements are listed. In this case, we have memos listed. You have the option to add memos here with a button. You can read through them. You'll see also that these ones, you can reorganize them via drag and drop. And it's different depending on the element, if you just have one large map, for example, or if you have multiple memos or segments separated next to each other, like this. And then the last and very important part are the insights. At the bottom of each section, and sometimes even under each single element, you'll find a text box where you can enter information that you think is relevant, that you wanted to remember about the elements that you have collected here. Yeah, so this is an overview of the elements of the QTT workspace. But you probably ask yourself, okay, how did this get in here? Like, how do I collect the data? How's that work? So it works different for different elements. Here's an example how it works for the memos. You have a button and it says add elements, and when you open it, you get a list of all of the memos. It works the same with maps, with summary tables. And yeah, then you have a list and you just select something, you click OK, and it gets added to your section. For other parts, you can also, wherever you are, like the example with the visual tool, if you've created a code matrix browser, that's just perfect. You don't have to remember, go to QTT, say add visual tool and find it somewhere. You can just click on the send to QTT icon that you will find on all of the visual tools and also in some of the context menus for different elements. Like here at the bottom, you can see it for the coded segments. When you right click, you just see send to QTT worksheet, and then it even pops up and shows you different worksheets that you have, or you can collect it to a new worksheet if you don't have one that's fitting already. So this is really a new thing. Now in MAXDAYS, you can say, okay, I have something, this is really important. And then you say, I want to collect this in my worksheet where I have all of the really important aspects of this topic. Yeah, so that's how that works. And I just want to talk about one section in detail before we go live into MAXQDA to create a worksheet together. The last section is the integration of insights. And as you remember, you could create insights for each of the elements or for each of the sections in all of the other sections. But in this section, MAXQDA will display all of the insights that you created in all of these other places. So here is one example that was created for a 2-case model. And then you can read through all of the insights that you already have and then use the text box at the bottom for your overall insight conclusion, create theories, write down your hypotheses, and so on. So I hope now you have like a pretty good understanding of what the QTT workspace can offer you. And I would like to jump live into MAXQDA over here. Can you see? Yeah. And create that worksheet together with you. So this is just the example project in MAXQDA. You all have it if you download the MAXQDA. It's the work-life balance, and it includes a filled out QTT worksheet, so you can play around with it if you don't have your own data yet. In the analysis menu, you click on the QTT icon, and the QTT workspace window opens up. And this is the worksheet that I was just showing you the screenshots about. But let's go and create a new worksheet right now. So what I do is I click on New Worksheet, and this window opens up. At the top, I can select the name. I'll just go with Worksheet 2, or maybe I'll go with Spotlight MAXDAYS, so that I can find it again. Then I can enter a subject or a topic that's addressed in the study. Let's see, if I go from the example from yesterday, situation of harvest workers during the pandemic lockdown 2020 in Germany. And then I probably have some elaborate research questions that I do not have about the subject, but this is where the questions go. You can write as many and as few questions in here as you'd like. Then you click OK. And the new worksheet is opened up, and you can see the new header up here: Spotlight MAXDAYS, situation of the harvest workers, and the research question. And as you can see, while I hover over this, I can just click in here and change it. Maybe it wasn't 2020. I meant the lockdown 2021, the newer one. So I can just go in here and edit this if I need to. Now let's take a look. I have all of the sections down here. As I said, you can click through, you can see all of the buttons and all of the here information. How do I add elements to it? I can just drag and drop them around if they need to be somewhere else. I can right click and say remove from the worksheet, remove element, yes. And now that I've removed the section, I can go to add section and add it again. And you can always see which one you already have and which one you can add back into. And you can see that each of them has a little explanatory text. So send QTT worksheet in the visual tool. Let's do that. Let's say I'm just going to go in here for my interview with Matteo, quickly create a document portrait. Say, oh, this looks good. Maybe, yeah, this is okay. Then I click on the Send to QTT QTT worksheet icon. I select the worksheet that we have, and magically the document portrait appears just how I just created it. And then I can add my insights here. There's a lot of blue. So if blue was, whenever somebody talked about sadness, I would say, okay, this person had a lot of sadness around the lost hops harvest. So this is how you work with the visuals and statistics, and it works the same with the charts or pretty much all of the visual interfaces outputs that you have in MAXDAY. Always look for this icon, and you can send it to the QTT. Let's take a look at related codes and themes. This is one of the elements that is added by a list. So if I click on it, I get the list of all of my codes. If I had activated some codes, I could make this a little bit easier and just import my activated ones. I click OK, and my codes are added. And you can see I have the name of the codes. I can even open up the coded segments for each of these codes. So if I wanted to, if I don't remember why I added this here in the first place, I can always go here. Oh, this is a bad example because it doesn't have any. Click on the coded segments and then view through all of these coded segments. So, and if there's a memo involved, I can read and open the memo here to learn more about the code. And again, here are my insights in this. The same works for the summary tables. I'm just going to add a summary table to show you that you can still change how this table looks once it's in here. So it's just added. You can modify it as you like. Add your insight down here. It's a little bit different with the important segments. As you can see here, you can add segments from retrieved segments by drag and drop of the coding stripe. So let's try it out. Let's see, I have something interesting here. And I just click and drag, and it gets added to my QTT workspace, and then I can add my insight. The same is available in lots of context menus. So if you right click on a coding stripe, you'll see the same option down here, and it just appears. It's a very satisfying feeling to just collect all of your important things. And as you can see, if I added a comment to one of the segments, it's also added down here. And I have always the source information, so I know where this segment came from. Maybe I should just point out for the summary tables, if I were to add another summary table, here the typical Workday one, it gets added below. Here, I'm going to just change it a little bit. Oh, wrong way. But now I have two insight boxes. So this one is connected to this table, and I can write as much as I want to in it. And for this table, I have a new insight box. It's different for the codes and themes because here you have a collection of codes, and we assume that they kind of belong together. So you can have one insight box for all of the codes, and it would be a lot of boxes if you had one for each code. But if you have different thoughts, let me know. We're open for feedback on this because, as I said, it's a new feature. Then we have the maps. Again, I can just say here, add one of my maps. It's added. I can add my insights. Let's want to move them over here. And now that I've added all of these elements, my integration of insights now has the three insight boxes that I've created, and I can add my big insights here. If you have a lot of insights, and you only want to look at your insights from the visual tools, for example, at the moment, you can right-click on your visual. It says here at the bottom which section this insight is from, or sometimes even which map or which summary table it's from. So I right-click on here, I can say hide all the insights from the other sections if I really just want to focus on my visual tools and statistics insights, and I can show them again if I need to. Yeah, and then I can write my insights down here. Okay, let's say I've added something. Oh, I haven't added memos yet. Let's just add a few memos. Here are my memos. Let's say I've added a memo like this that's empty, so I don't really need it. All of these these elements are inactive. So if I right-click, I can just say remove this from the worksheet. Click OK. Yes, I cannot undo this, and it's gone. And if I want to move them around to organize them just a little bit differently, you can just click in here and move any of the memos or any of the codes around so that they are in the order that fits your question best. What you can also do, as you saw, is you can click copy pretty much all of the elements. Let's see if I just open up a new Word document and I just click copy and paste. I can copy the content of the memo into my document. And also, if the memo is really long and not everything is displayed here, if you double click, the memo opens up in the longer table. Oh, in this case, you can read everything. But for a long memo, this way you can read through all of the text of the memo. You can also right-click on a section header and say copy the whole content. And if I copy the section, and then again open up my Word document, and I paste it in here, I have all of the memos down here. So now I have the frequency, home office, salary budgeting, and so on. Okay, let's see. And what happens if I click on the export? Let me just switch to another worksheet. As you can see, here I can switch to my other worksheet, the worksheet number 1. It gets opened up. And I can say export this worksheet and give it a name, send it to my desktop. I click save. And this is what happens in many places where you export a report into MAXQDA. if it includes a live table of content, you have to tell Microsoft Word once that it's okay to update the fields of the table of content. So for this, I'll just click OK. I would also click Don't Show again if I were you, and I would be doing this multiple times. Now the Word document is here on my desktop. I have to click yes again, as MAXQDA just told me, so that I can update the fields and get the real table of contents. And then I have the report. And as you can see, the report has the title that I selected. So it's important to think about this title. Then I have the subject, I have the research question, and then I have the table of contents. I have all of the codes, all of the segments, the table, and so on, and all of them are followed by the insights that I added. And at the very end, I have my integration and theories chapter. Now, if I click on here, you can jump in here. I have all of the codes and I have my insights. I have all of my important segments together with the source information if you need to ever go back to anything in MAXQDA. I have my summary tables. I have my memos. And you can see how before I could also export the memos. I can export the tables. I can export all of these things. But now I have one worksheet that has all of the information that I needed on a specific topic. And I could collect it there. I could annotate it there. And then I can export it all at once into this one report, which is just really easy to work with and would be a great starting point to write the chapter about this topic. So this QTT feature really closed a gap in the workflow of many researchers. Let's close all this. Here in the inside text boxes, you can also use a lot of the features. So you don't have to just use plain text. You can go in here and add numbers in here, add a list, change the font, change the color, add a date, and so on. So you can really use this as a writing tool instead of before having a Word document open where you had to switch between MAXQDA and the writing tool and go back and forth. You can now stay live inside of MAXQDA, do all of this work here, collect it, switch between your worksheets, even send different types of visual tools to different type of worksheets. So you can work on many topics at the same time. And then you have it all in one place, well organized. Okay. Let's see, and this QTT. So this was my presentation part of the QTT worksheet. I have not been following the chat at the same time. So let me just get my chat window a little bit closer to see if there were any questions along the way. Oh, there's a question. The question is if I can add elements from outside of MAXQDA too. Interesting thought. You can only add elements from inside of MAXQDA because you have to. MAXQDA already has to know about it. It has to be a memo that's already there, a visual tool, a map that's already there, or you have to send it from within MAXQDA to a worksheet. So unfortunately, that's not possible. Let's see. The QTT tool is included in all of the license version of MAXQDA because there's a question about a student version and student licenses. So the QTT is in all of the student licenses, the standard licenses, and so on. And you can even, the QTT is included in teamwork. So if I am working on a project in the team and I am collecting information on, let's say, the hops harvest, I can create a worksheet, I can add all of the information, and then I can combine my project with my team members, and they have my QTT worksheet with them as well. Same if you're working with the MAXQDA Team Cloud version. Okay, here's another question. How do you use the QTT during coding analysis? more after the analytical, more after the coding. Once you've coded something, let's say you've created a code for work-life balance and you've coded all of your data, and now you want to take a closer look at friends and family because maybe you're going to a conference where you want to present a special, just one aspect of your research on friends and family. So before you would have to go in, look at all of the codings, look at all the visual tools. But if you know beforehand, while you're working and while you're finding out things in MAXDAY or while you're writing exciting memos on friends and family, you can just send the memo to a QTT worksheet as you go. So even while you're still coding, you can already start to separate your findings into different areas and collect them in a QTT worksheet. It's really a way to bridge the gap, like what happens after the analysis. You're finished. How do you express the most important aspect of your work to somebody who's not in MAXDA? So if you're working with somebody who doesn't have MAXDA, you can collect everything connected to one topic in one QTT worksheet, export it to them, and they will understand. Because then they have the tables, they have the overviews, they have the memos, and they have the your insight and your notes to it. So I guess the purpose of the QTT is to really bridge this gap of collecting the analytical results. You can use it during the analytical phase, but you can collect your results there by topic and then always have them right inside of MAXQDA and use them for whichever purpose that you need to do. Then here's a question, can you use JPEG files in QTT? The QTT doesn't define yet. I mean, if you have a visual tool, let's see, let's take a look again. Maybe I'll just create a code matrix browser for my Berlin interviews, what they said about work-life balance. I click OK. And now I have this visual tool. And now I go in here and I really take a look and maybe I reorganize it so that I have them here. Maybe I say, okay, I want to have it look like this. So it's just more present, like where are the higher frequency of the code segments. And now I say, okay, this is something that I can use. This is really a visual tool that I can use later. Maybe I want to include this in my paper or in the presentation. Before, I would have to go here, click, copy it to the clipboard. I would have to paste it into the presentation or the Word document, even though maybe that presentation is a month away, and then forget about it when I need it. And then I would have to go back into and recreate it. I know from experience that that's how it works. So now you can just say here, this is important. I want to add this to the Spotlight MAXDAYS worksheet. It gets added to that. And then at no point yet does MAXDAY care what the formatting of the image is to answer the question, because it just created an image and sent it to QTT. And then when you export it from QTT, it gets included in the Word document. So I do not know exactly what type of image it is in the Word document, but then it's in the Word document, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. Let's check it out. I just added this to my worksheet. So I'm going to open it up. And under visual statistics, I now have my code matrix browser. And now I can write my notes in here and say, this is reorganized so that the person with the most coded segments is located on the left. So the thought process that I put into creating exactly this code matrix browser, I can now write it down here as a reminder to myself and then add my notes, interpretation, whatever I want to annotate to this visualization. Let's see. Yeah. Could you use the QTT as a presentation tool? Yeah, I guess you could. Why wouldn't you? I mean, you can collect all of the visualizations that you want to present, show them, and have your notes below them. You can if you like. But then you have to be really careful that you only write the really good stuff in your notes down here, and not like me, a reminder to myself why I created this and why this is important to myself. Let's check. Is there another question in the Q&A? Could the users combine worksheets to produce a single report? I mean, this feature is not built in at the moment. You can export 2 of them to Word, but then you'd have to do a little bit of copying. So I guess if you have 2 of the, if you know you're going to use them together, maybe just create them as a single worksheet. But then it's also not that much work to combine them later on. Because when you're writing, you're probably not just going to hand in the QTT export. Like that's going to be the basis that you have all of your information in one place, but then you're probably going to write in another space anyway. So let's see. Oh, it was already answered. No. Could a QTT worksheet be duplicated? Ooh. No, it cannot be duplicated at the moment, but let me write this down as an idea, because I'm guessing you would like to start with one place, but maybe then you have a second worksheet that's just a little bit different or for a different audience and you just want to mention things a little bit different. So that could be a good feature to just have right here a little duplicate icon. Can you show me an example of concept maps? Sure. I mean, the maps are not created in QTT. So what you do is you go to the visual tools and the MAXDAYS interface. And here, this is like a whiteboard where you can create networks and maps of elements from MAXQDA. And there's also models that you can use, but maybe we can just create an automatic model for TAN. I'm just going to click OK to use this model. Now we have this map, and then you have rearranged it, maybe you've changed it, and now it's just perfect. You want to use it in your presentation. I'm just going to move this a little bit. So what you can do is, now that you have the map and you want to collect it in the QTT worksheet, almost the same as in the code matrix browser, you click on the QTT worksheet icon, you select the worksheet that you want to use, and then you open the QTT worksheet. I could have just left it open. I don't know why I closed it. But now the map that we just created is here, and I can add my insights. So for the maps, you can either send them from the MAXMaps interface directly to a QTT worksheet and then add your notes. Or for the maps, MAXQDA also additionally has a list of all of the maps that you have. So I can also click on Add Elements and then add one of the maps down here. And then it gets added at the bottom. These maps are no longer live. So now this is an image. If I go in here, I cannot change this anymore. So you can also use the QTT workspace to just store different versions of a map. Maybe, sometimes you're working on a map and you have something that you think is really good, like here, or you can see psychological effect is bigger, and I really wanted to point out that this part is an important aspect of this interview. But then you go deeper with maps. Maybe you take a look at the coded segments, you read through it and you realize, oh, it's not what I thought. So you can change it, make it bigger, change the sizing and so on, and then collect a new version, go into QTT and just say, remove this from the worksheet. I don't no longer need it. So it can, like the QTT worksheet, it can live as you progress through your research. Or of course you can keep it and then say, hey, this was the state. And then the date and the time, so that you never forget a step that you took and why you took it. Oh, this is also a question here. What if I change the elements in MAXQDA? The basic idea is that you have a result, and then you take a snapshot of it and you save it. So when I go, these are the codes that I thought are important at this point. If I go into MAXQDA and I delete all of these codes, they will not get deleted from QTT. So it's not a live interactive tool where you work with the data. It's a collecting whiteboard where when you have something, you pin it to the whiteboard so you don't forget. But the work in MAXQDA is not affected by the QTT. Same with the memos. If I have the memos in here, they are stored in the QTT worksheet. So if you change the memo, it doesn't change in the QTT workspace. So you can really use it to take to collect the data how it is at that moment for that purpose. Okay, I hope I'm not missing any questions. Let's take a look at the chat. Okay, I'm not seeing any new questions. Ah, here's a new question. When you delete a figure in QTT, does the inside box get deleted too? That would make sense, right? So let's see. If I go in here, I go to the very bottom. I say remove this. This was the state here. If I remove this from the worksheet and I click yes, the element and the text box is gone. Because in this case, the inside box was connected to that specific map. Maybe it's not the same for the memos because here it's more, this is a section inside for all of the elements in the section, while with the summary tables, it's connected to the element. So if you remove the element, it does not make sense to keep the inside box around, but it's definitely something that you might want to keep in mind while removing things from the QTT worksheet. All right. I think I've answered all the questions so far, and I think we can wrap up a little bit, unless I have new questions coming in. So I hope you really got a nice overview of all of the features that the QTT has to offer. And as we said, we're really excited to see how this will be used and how people will use this for presentations and what the experiences will be that we get feedback about. In MAXDAY, there's a little icon up here, which is a smiley face. If you click on it, just click on it, it opens up a web page. You just go to the web page over here. So it's just a really quick way to send some feedback. If you are missing something, if you have a suggestion or an idea, or if you really like a feature, it would be lovely to hear from you and just see how you're using QTT and how it helps your research. One more question. Oh, when did the QTT function become available? It was included in MAXQDA 2022. 2022 was released in November last year. So you do have to work with the latest version of MAXQDA to use it, but it has been available from the very first day that MAXQDA 2022 was released. It's not available in MAXQDA 2020 in case you're still working with an older version. But if you have questions about the upgrade, just contact our customer service on the website, and they will help you to find out which options are available in your specific case and license format. Okay, yeah. As I said, for all of the license questions, it's better to get in touch with the customer service because there's so many different licenses. It's always easy to upgrade. It's always good to upgrade, I would say too. But I'm not the best person to answer this here at this moment. So thank you for joining. Maybe we'll see each other in another session later on. Sorry, there you are. And it was a joy to show you the QTT workshop. Have a great rest of the conference, and bye-bye.